Hello and welcome to Forza Horizon 5. Today I will be going through all of the WEC race tracks that can be found in Forza Horizon 5's Eventlab. So these are circuits that have been recreated by the community, and for some of the tracks there are multiple versions of them. I've just gone with one I find best for all tracks in the 2025 World Endurance Championship. Starting with Qatar. Which is a very nice flow to it, even the first time you play it. I've never really driven Qatar in any game whatsoever, so this is a circuit I am new to. But comparing it to satellite images and footage from the race itself this year, it does seem quite accurate. There was another Qatar which had more, well, it was nicer to look at, but it did, this sector in particular wasn't quite as accurate, I felt. So this is definitely the version I would go with if I were you. As we come to the end of the circuit of the 12 kilometers of Qatar, next up we will have Imola, Spa, the Le Mans Circuit de la Sarthe, Interlagos, COTA and Fuji, as well as the season finale race location Bahrain. Imola. This is so well made. Got elevation changes which are mostly accurate. Got a bunch of advertising boards which just add to the atmosphere of it. That was a terrible breaking point. And it's as narrow as the real thing. So racing here is very much a challenge as it is in real life. Now this is probably the coolest part. The sort of design layers on the ground. That curb there's not quite as aggressive as it seems to be when you watch the World Endurance Championship clips. But let's be honest, that's not exactly a bad thing. That was absolutely terrible. So there you go. That was a not particularly good lap of Imola. Next up, Spa. Now there are other versions of Spa, but they are older, so don't use the new Eventlab Island. They do have more likes, if I remember correctly though, so you may have to scroll quite far to find this if you don't just put in the share code. This is a bit of a problem with Horizon 5. The elevation changes are really hard to make in the Eventlab. So, as well as they are made here, there are some sort of dodgy sections, like there for example. With the right car, it is possible to take that flat. I say that, it's all rouge, the famous corner. And I would like to have brake markers at the end of the Camel Straight. The elevation changes in Spa in real life are absurd, so the fact that they were able to implement them this well even in Horizon 5 is very impressive. And if you've driven it in Assetto Corsa or Le Mans Ultimate or any other game that has Spa really, you should be able to recognise most of the things as very similar in terms of the distances and the corner radiuses. Yeah, this bit is a bit weird. Okay, yeah, that... Not ideal. Then we have the bus stop here and across the line. Next up, after Spa, the big one, Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. Project Le Mans is probably the best recreation of France's Circuit de la Sarthe. There's a lot of things that come up if you put in Le Mans in Eventlab. Not many of them have much to do with this circuit we see here. And not many of them have goats on the start-finish line either. This does. Probably the best recreation in the game, and with track limits that are very heavily enforced. I do believe Eduardo Freitas would be proud. We come onto the iconic Mulsanne Straight, the tree-lined road. Attempt 8. I made it around without crashing. Second chicane. Right, we're just gonna go. Ah! I don't think you need to brake there, but I do not trust this car. Neither do you really need to brake there usually, but again, I am driving an Ultima, even if it looks like a Glittenhouse, sort of. I think that corner should be banked in real life, but again, banked corners in this game, very difficult to do. I say banked, not really, it's got a beat off camber. Again, you would recognise most of these corners. No, you'd recognise all of them if you've vaguely watched or raced around Le Mans. Yeah. There we go! The same person who made this version of Interlagos also has a few others, including one called Remastered. I find this to be the best, however. It doesn't have the elevation changes of a real track, but with how hard that is to make in Forza Horizon 5, I honestly would prefer a similar but nice track to a perfect recreation that just launches you all over the place every time you go near a bit of terrain. Oh no, that's not good. Oh, right. Okay. Apparently that's a thing that can happen. Also a Formula 1 track. Welcome to COTA, Circuit of the Americas. Amazingly, in America. Well done elevation change there. I don't know what would happen if you went in a too fast car, though. I imagine you would go flying. But this is probably one of the better made, if not the best made, tracks we will look at today. I really feel like it was made by a professional. There's a few places you could probably abuse the track limits because of the fact that it's Forza. I do apologise for any not particularly well done racing lines here. I've basically never driven COTA before. I usually avoid it because at one time I did try to drive it, I was absolutely terrible at it, so instead of practicing I decided to just not bother. Again, brilliantly well made track. Let's go to Fuji. Fuji was a bit harder to find a good version. The other one I found doesn't really do the first sector as well. So this one I think is mostly accurate. From the basically from satellite comparisons and sort of clips of the final sector at least, I find this to be the most accurate. and there isn't that many to choose from. Fuji, not necessarily the most popular circuit, probably because it's only in WEC and not in Formula 1. It's not only in WEC, it's also another circuit. You know what I mean. The proportions feel a bit off sometimes, but again, this is the best version we have in this game. And I find, because of the width of it and how flowing it is, you would probably be able to have some very good PvP races here. And on the side of the track, you also have the grass and dirt, so you wouldn't just be able to abuse track limits. That wasn't very good. Like you could in COTA. Again, not really a track I've ever driven before, so I do beg your forgiveness for my racing lines being absolutely atrocious here. And this video is more about showing you the track. And that was that. Unfortunately, that means there's only one more track to go, and that one track is Bahrain. A track I vaguely know because I've raced there in a different game recently. A track I vaguely recognise, having driven it in Le Mans Ultimate recently for a race. But not in a car such as this, unfortunately. This is a very powerful auction house build as far as I can work out. Just put a livery on it and that was it. I find this track to be one of the most accurate we've looked at today. Even the curbs are how you would like them to be, so you could use them how you practiced in other games. That is not how I practiced that, but whatever. This is probably one of the best tracks you could use if you would try to go PvP in a real race track in this game. Missing is the violent bumpy curve which you would have where I'm driving now. There we have it, the 8 racetracks in the 2025 World Endurance Championship. I will leave all of the share codes in the description, so if you're on PC you can copy and paste them into your... actually you can't, because Forza doesn't allow pasting. I'll leave them there anyway. I do hope you enjoyed this video, or, well, found it interesting at least. And that, have a nice day. Goodbye, and don't forget to like and subscribe.